Hey guys, welcome to Box Office Addict. We're here and looking at the weekend numbers and we're going to break down and give a full analysis. Because if you're like me, you are, well, let's just say addicted. And not in a good way, in a bad way. Constantly refreshing the homepage to see if Box Office Mojo updates the page. Constantly checking your phone for updates on midnight changes. It's like, oh, this movie made an extra $2 million. Um, Higher than projected. Very exciting news. I don't know what the hell's been going on with Box Office Mojo ever since it became part of IMDb Pro. Like, they used to have the weekend numbers up, I think, around 1 o'clock, and now it's not till 3 o'clock. It's really annoying because Deadline already has the numbers up and the studios already send them out, like, in the morning. So I don't know why it takes so long for them to update Box Office Mojo. It's not like this website format is complicated. I mean, this looks like a 90s website page, so I don't know. Whoever's at Box Office Mojo, write them letters and complain about this, that they don't update this enough. Okay, so tonight is the Academy Award. So we have a few of the Academy Award films in here. The Fablemans, which only made 17 million. The Whale, which also made 17 million. Everything Everywhere All at Once is at 73 million. They clearly re-released this close to the Oscars, where it's most likely going to win Best Picture tonight and Best Director and all that crap. But whatever. Okay, so let's start. I guess we'll start at the top 10. Operation Fortunes at 5.5 million. Not doing that great domestically. I don't even think this movie had any advertising, to be honest. 1.6 million for Puss in Boots 2, which is going to make 180 million plus. I would say 183 to 185. Might even make more than that, honestly. But yeah, this is at 461 million worldwide, so this is done fantastic. Really great job there by Universal on that one. Avatar 2, my prediction last week was somewhere around 680 final and 2.3 plus, and that looks like it's going to happen. It's only like 7 million away from 2.3, and it's only about 5.5 million away from 680. So yeah, everything's going its way. That is definitely going to be the most successful film to come out in the last few years. Champions, starring Woody Harrelson, opened to 5 million at 3,000 theaters. That's really bad. This also has the chick from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is actually in this movie. She's great. I don't know why she isn't in more movies now that I'm thinking about it. But yeah, 2 hours and 3 minutes, focus features, 5 million. I'm sure this movie didn't have a huge budget, but still beyond that. I just found out about this movie like a week ago. Jesus Revolution dropped 39%. It's at 39 million. I don't know if this can make 40 million. I mean, 50 million. It's definitely going to make 40. I don't know if it'll reach 50 million. And obviously, films like this typically don't do very well at the international box office. So hopefully, they kept the budget on this low. Although I do think it'll do really, really well on home video and as a television or streaming movie with its core audience. In fact, I think you can already watch it on streaming. It's not just theatrical. Cocaine Bear dropped 44% and is at $51 million and 65 million worldwide. This should be able to make over 100 million worldwide when it's all said and done. So if you factor in the budget, which I'm guessing was 20 something million or maybe 30 million even because of the CGI of the bear, overall, it's doing fine. It's not a bomb by any means. Now, speaking of something that's not doing so fine, we need to talk about Ant-Man 3 continuing to have an embarrassing run as it drops 45%. So we're at 447 million, and this is what, week 5? I think this is week 5, so we haven't reached 200 million. Look at the opening weekend, 106 million. That was like 5 weeks ago. Let's double check that. I could be wrong. This could be a month. Oh, I guess it's been 4 weeks. Okay. But if you just look, oh wait, no, it's 5. Oh wait, it was the weekend holiday. Okay, so if you look here, this movie opened to 120 million over 4 days, and it's at 197. Okay, so this movie opened to $120 million in its first few days of release, And since then, it's only made $77 million. I think that really puts things into context. Just imagine your movie opens at $100 million and you only make like another 50, 60 million after that, after it's been out for a few weeks. That's abysmal that it's only made 77 million since its first 4 days of release. Yeah, 4 day. I mean, I just looking at that just blows my mind. That means the weekday numbers have been terrible, not just the weekend numbers. That just lets you know that the week to week numbers, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, are terrible for this movie. I don't know where to final predict this. It's definitely not making 250 million. 220, I guess, is the range we're playing in now. 220 to 230. I would say 220 is more likely. Internationally, it has not picked up steam. I don't know if it can make. I mean, this is starting to look like it might come in smaller than the original Ant-Man's gross of like 520 million. That's pretty freaking bad. I mean, this is starting to look like it's not going to outgross Ant-Man 1. I mean, domestically, sure, but with inflation, I don't even think it's close at this point. That is just, man, how did that happen? I know I keep harping on this every week, but 65 starring Adam Driver, which is the dinosaur movie. It's Turok uh, with Kylo Ren. Honestly, 12.3 million is not a bad opening when you think about it. That it This kind of movie always opens at like 10 to 15 million. This was not going to be a movie that opened to $30 million. So it's really hard to say this is a negative. This movie was never going to be a big hit. The reviews are what you expected from the trailers. Adam Driver just collected a paycheck on this one. They probably paid him a few $1 million to be in it, and he just jumped on so he could, you know, buy a new car or pay for his vacation house. That's what this movie feels like to me. I don't dislike the premise. I actually think it's a cool premise for a movie. But yeah, I mean, what were they expecting with this? This looks like a Netflix movie. So, okay, we're on to Creed 3, which did drop, but it was expected to drop. These Creed movies have never had huge holds just because their core fan base goes on opening weekend. So Creed 3 held down 53% to 27.1 million, putting it at 101 million. Now this is at 179 million. It will outgross. It should easily be able to outgross Creed 1 and Creed 2 domestically and internationally. The question is, how far is it going to go, though? They're currently estimating at about 150 mil domestic final total, which I think is probably accurate. That makes sense to me. And I'm going to guess, but I do think this could come in under 300 million worldwide. But it did only cost 75 million, so you'll have to factor it all in. I guess they were probably, I think they're hoping for over 300 million, though, for the franchise, instead of like 250 million, which it should be able to make more than that, because that's what Creed 2 did, I think. Okay, we're here to talk about Scream 6. Now, if you don't know this about me, if you haven't followed me all of these years, I'm a huge Scream fan. The first movie is one of my favorite movies. I like the sequels up to 4. I did not like the reboot slash sequel that came out last year called Scream, or also Scream 5. I don't like the filmmakers involved with this. I don't like the writers. I think they did a bad job. I know that film got good reviews and it made money after Scream 4 didn't do well in 2011. To me, Kevin Williamson is Scream. I can accept Wes Craven not directing, but I can't accept Kevin Williamson not being the sole writer. Even though he didn't write Scream 3, to be fair, that was Eric Kruger, but that's like also one of the weaker Scream movies from a writing standpoint. This is what happened. Nostalgia bait kicked in hard with that Scream movie that came out last year. Now, that movie made 81 million domestic and I think 140 million worldwide. Here we go, 2022. Made 137 million worldwide. Okay. So this was just a thing where they waited long enough. They were able to cash in on some nostalgia with this, because 2011 just wasn't the right year to do that with Scream 4. And it was more of a sequel that was commenting on remakes at the time, which is kind of what this movie tries to do. But this opened at 30 million. It brought the franchise back. I think this film only cost like $20 million. So of course they were going to make a sequel. Now Nev Campbell didn't return to the sequel. And this made me think today that we have two franchise sequels, part of a reboot continuation, that don't have the legacy lead character in either one of them. It's Creed 3 does not have Rocky, and this is the first Scream movie that does not feature Sidney Prescott. So I find that very interesting, kind of a sign of the times, or where things are going. I don't think this movie would have done very well. I mean, it's a horror movie, so it's naturally going to open well. They got very lucky with this because of Jenna Ortega. If she had not been in the other movie, and then, of course, you know what happened Wednesday and everything, and she became a cultural phenomenon, and she's everywhere now. So she's a big part of this opening because this is the first big movie she's been in since the Wednesday show really blew up on Netflix and became like their second most watched show ever. So if she wasn't in this, I think this wouldn't open to 44 million, 45 million. I still think it would have had a good opening weekend. I'm not saying it would have had a bad opening weekend, but they got very lucky at Paramount that she became an A-lister, and then she's, one of the leads of this movie when it comes out, and they can advertise the movie with her in it. She goes on Saturday Night Live. She goes on talk shows. So this was a big deal for them. They got to be very excited because just like Michael B. Jordan is a movie star that can keep the Creed franchise going, Jenna Ortega can conceivably keep the Scream franchise going for at least another movie or two, just because of her star power and the appeal of the genre. And if they keep the budgets low, this movie cost $35 million to the previous film's like 20 something million dollar budget. Which this is still one of the lower budgeted ones. I think Scream 3, besides the first two, obviously, but I think Scream 3 cost 40 million. I mean, yeah, Scream 3 and 4, I think both cost $40 million. Scream 4 might have even cost more than that, honestly. But obviously, you're paying Wes Craven and the actors coming back at the time. It's a different deal. Like, I doubt David Arquette got a lot of money for the last Scream movie. You're not paying the guy $10 million to be in the movie. So this is the largest opening of the franchise at $44.5 million, $22 million internationally for $67 million opening. So I don't think the word of mouth's going to be great on this, and there will be drops, and that's expected. This is kind of like Jason Takes Manhattan. This is the Ghostface Takes Manhattan of the franchise as they take it to New York City. But I really just can't see this making like 130 million. I could be wrong because the opening weekend is really good, but I do see this having a big drop in the coming weeks just because of the nature of the kind of movie it is. And it's also like the question is how much of this is the core fan base of the franchise and how much of this is new people that are just now joining the franchise. The movie got about similar reviews to the previous film. They have like the same ratings on websites, but it seems like people are a little bit less enthusiastic about this movie so far, is kind of the feeling I get from reading stuff online. But still, it's successful. I mean, this could make 100 million plus domestically, and it could make, I don't know if it'll make 200 million worldwide, but it could. The highest grossing Scream film is still the first one. That's the crazy thing about this franchise, is the hype, because the first one made 173 million back in 96 after it was in theaters a long time. So there you go. You got 103 million domestic, 70 million. So this just shows you the word of mouth of this movie. Do they have they don't. So if you don't know, this movie opened to $6 million and people thought it was like not a bomb, but that it wasn't going to be this cultural phenomenon, and then it became a franchise. The second film came out the next year, made $172 million. Third film came out in 2000, and there you go. There's the budget, 40 million, 34 million opening. So that was a pretty big opening for 2000, and made 161 million worldwide. So still a franchise. Then you had 4, which was a disappointment financially. It only made 38 million and 97 million worldwide. And then we already looked at the reboot numbers. So honestly, if you look at this, this is now 6 movies in the franchise, and all of them have grossed over 100 million, except for one of them, which was only 3 million off. So this franchise has crazy longevity. I mean, once again, we're almost, what now? It's going to be 30 years since the original. Yeah. Just in like 3 years here. So 27 years later, and you can still use the IP. It has a lot to do with Ghostface. He's really iconic. I'm shocked that the phone gimmick was able to work in the modern day, because it doesn't make any sense to me with cell phones and caller ID how Ghostface can kill people. I know they find ways to write into it, but if you get the call on your phone, I'd be like, "Are you home alone?" I'd be like, "Yes," and I know who you are. I just looked it up on my phone, and the police are coming right now. Also, I'm live streaming this, so have fun with that. Oh, sorry. And then they hang up. Is this like the Star Wars? For me, this isn't too far off from like Force Awakens and Last Jedi for me as like a fan. Like this is the I don't like these as legacy sequels. I'm really like not a fan as a Scream fan. It like really upsets me because I like the first four movies a lot. To me, it's like this is like everything I don't like about modern reboots and franchises are these last two movies. I haven't seen this one to be fair, but the previous one I really freaking hated. And I do hate that Nev Campbell's not in it. But I guess I just have to accept that. But I just think, it's funny how they don't get the meta stuff right, especially, or that they could do more with it. It's like just the premise of these movies, too. But it is funny to think about it as like the Star Wars sequels, because you're like getting the call and he does the movie trivia questions, and who shot first in A New Hope? Was it Han Solo or Greedo? It was it was Han. No. Oh wait, no. Han's the correct answer. It would be like it was Greedo. And it'd be like, no, that's wrong. You watch the special edition where Han dodges it with his head. In the original, Han shoots him under the table. Just like the original. Use the Force, Luke, to gut him like a fish. It's really funny. Ghostface's voice is great. Uh, but yeah, the movie trivia thing and stuff like that. I would just love if somebody answered it's subjective questions. I would just love if somebody answered one correctly and Ghostface went, "Oh, okay. Sorry for bothering you. Have a good night." And he just leaves you alone. This is also Paramount. Paramount's had a huge turnaround, man. I mean, you got to look at Paramount. Paramount Plus, I think, has done good the last few months for them. Top Gun, um, so and now this movie has done well. 80 for Brady, eh. But let's see what's going on at Paramount. Let's click Paramount Pictures. Are you kidding me? All right, well, you know what? Never mind then. Yeah. So there you have it. Scream 6 is now the biggest opening of the franchise. Obviously, adjusted for inflation, Scream 3 would have been a much bigger opening. If you did see this movie and you liked it, tell me why you liked it, what you think about it, and where do you think this film's going to end up domestically and worldwide at the box office. If I have to guess right now, off this, I'm going to say somewhere around 100 million domestically, 110 million, and maybe even a little bit less than that, maybe like 108, and then like 180 million worldwide or something. I could see this making, or more. I'm open to it. Whatever happens, happens. But if you're a box office addict like myself, I hope to see you again here next week as we look at it. We got a lot of stuff coming out, though. This is pretty cool. The fact that we have like Ant-Man, we had Creed, we had Scream, and John Wick 4's coming, which I think is going to have a big opening and a lot to discuss. And that movie's 3 hours. So there's a lot of fun stuff happening right now. Dungeons and Dragons is getting good reviews. So there should be a lot to cover this year. So I'm looking forward to it.